And I realized the people that make a lot of money are driven, they're very disciplined, they're very focused, they don't get distracted, but they're driven by many times in the world of business, you hear people talking about, should I focus on profits or should I focus on value? Profits, value, profits, value, profits, value, profits, value. I should focus on profits because I got to make profit. I got to run a profitable business, right? I mean, that's what I need to do, right? Yes. Or should I focus on increasing the value of my business? What should I do? What is the real difference? Decided to build my own business, my own sales office. I thought everything was about motivation. All I did was motivation, 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 motivation. I would go to conferences, motivation, 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 motivation. I would watch everybody. I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's motivating. They're such great motivational speakers, and I got to motivate. And I would start keeping track of scripts. I'm going to give this story this Sunday night conference call. I'm going to tell this to my team over here. I'm going to tell this over here. I'm going to motivate these guys like this. You got to learn how to motivate. You got to learn how to motivate because motivation is the key. Motivation is the key. Motivation is the key. Fast forward a few years later, I'm sitting in my own office. We are doing a couple $1 million of business per year. I'm making very good money, but not incredible money, but I'm making good money for a guy in my mid to late 20s. And I'm sitting there realizing everything is predicated on motivation, motivation, motivation. So then I took a time out and I got obsessed about finding out what the people that scaled their business did. What did they do to scale their businesses? And I left and I studied and I started hanging out with people that have made a lot of money. When I talk a lot of money, I'm not talking like 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. I'm talking real money, close to $1 billion. And I started associating with these guys. And I realized the people that make a lot of money are driven, they're very disciplined, they're very focused, they don't get distracted, but they're driven by strategies, systems, protocols. And in everything they do is about strategy, systems, protocols. So watch this. Many times in the world of business, you hear people talking about, should I focus on profits or should I focus on value? Profits, value, profits, value, profits, value, profits, value. I should focus on profits because I got to make profit. I got to run a profitable business, right? I mean, that's what I need to do, right? Yes. Or should I focus on increasing the value of my business? What should I do? What is the real difference? Almost everybody I met who built a massive business and made a lot of money, they were all driven by systems, strategies. And they were not better motivators than other sales leaders I met who were incredible motivators. And the sales leaders I met who were incredible motivators, they always had to motivate. Now, don't get me wrong. The people I met who made a lot of money and built a substantial business for themselves, their method of motivation was by knowing what questions to ask from you. So they wouldn't sit there and say, you can do it. Ba, 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 ba. Go get them. I believe in you. You're this, you're this, you're that. They would ask you questions. It was constant questions. Questions, 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 questions. Questions, more questions, good questions. So motivational speakers make statements, but those who were the people who build a big business based on system, strategies, protocols, and those guys ask the right questions, both from themselves and from you. When they're hiring somebody, they ask the right questions. You can have two different people do an interview to hire somebody, to a company. One asks the wrong questions, very shallow questions. The other asks the right questions. It's a completely different story, right? One is, and the person that's being recruited, you ever sat next to somebody or in front of somebody that's trying to hire you to a company for an executive job or a job, and you sit there and say, man, that's a pretty terrible question you just asked me in an interview. Has that ever happened to you, right? And then you ever sat in front of somebody and they ask you the right questions, you're like, wow, I've never had anybody interview me like this before. So remember, profit, value, right? Okay, so watch this. Those who are driven by profit, which is just making money today, are the same people that are driven by being motivated all the time and just motivating people because it's all short term. Let me motivate you to see what I can get from you. Let me motivate you to see if I can sell you something today. Let me motivate you to see if I can get you to do something today, right? It's all short term, short term, short term, short term, short term, all today. Those who are driven by strategy, okay, and systems and protocols and a culture of a method of asking the right questions, those guys are all about value, value, value. Big difference. Big difference. So here's what it means. The difference is you could be making $120,000 or $300,000 a year or $500,000 a year, maybe even $1 million a year if you only focused on motivation versus you focus on systems, protocols, strategies, long term, you're making tens per year. Big difference. Very big difference. By the way, you're working the same amount of hours. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here telling you motivational speakers don't work hard. I'm not sitting here telling you a lot of sales leaders don't work hard. I'm not telling you both could work the same amount of hours, but one 10 years later is worth $100 million. The other 10 years later is worth a couple $1,000,000, and they still have to keep motivating everybody because this guy is only banking on themselves. This guy or gal is banking on a system of culture strategies that's continuously going to be growing. So remember, profits, motivation, value, strategy, and systems. So for me, for instance, I'll give you a perfect example here. A guy asked me today, I was at the mall and I'm running around. I have to buy a few different things. I'm looking at a couple suits and I have to buy some things for myself. And I came back. And by the way, let me tell you guys this one thing on a side note with Apple. So this is Apple's new iPad, right? That just came out. Okay. Apple's new iPad, they changed their battery plug. Okay. Another one. So now what charges an iPad used to be the same as an iPhone, used to be the same as all the other stuff. They changed this again. Do you know what happens with this? Eventually, Apple's going to lose a lot of loyal customers. I'm an Apple guy. I've been an Apple guy for a long time. These small little things, they're trying to make an additional $50 of this. This $50 frustrates customers. This isn't the smartest things. A lot of times these bigger companies, they get so cocky because they think you'll never leave them until it's too late. And I'm a diehard Apple person. Some of the guys are right now watching the same path. How come you say something like this? Everybody knows, Wozniak, you've always Apple product, everything buys Apple product. These small little moves you make, Apple, it annoys everybody. But you pocket profits, but eventually you lose loyalty. This is why somebody comes out and does it better than you. You suddenly lose products. So many big companies from 1970 are no longer around. Listen to what I told you. Nearly 70% of Fortune 500 companies from 1970 are no longer around because they got a little too cocky. I hope Tim Cook is not getting too cocky. You get too cocky just because you got $100 billion of cash sitting around, all of a sudden a new hungry person that understands what customers want kicks everybody's butt. Again, that's a side note. Let me get back to it. For me, I'll give you a perfect example. Profit, motivational. Okay, value, strategy, and systems, right? You with me so far? Everybody's with me so far. Okay. Oh my gosh, Instagram. I missed all the comments. So profits, value. Now watch this with yourself. Let's talk to you now. When I would go to all these conferences, I was telling you it was all about motivation, motivation, motivation. Today, there's a lot of conferences. Let me bring 20 speakers. Let me bring 30 speakers, and they'll all motivate. Buy my programs, I hate conferences like that. I can't stand conferences like that. But it still serves a purpose, okay? So people say, well, I'd rather go to this other conference. It's only $300. It's only $200. It's only $100. Yes, because they're going to make a lot of money off of you buying $1,000 programs, $2,000 programs, $3,000 programs, and you burn people out. But they don't care because you get the sales, because it's a numbers game. It's all good, right? So today I'm at the mall, and I'm walking around the mall. I'm buying a couple things. And all of a sudden, I notice this woman's chasing me behind me with 3 kids. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird, but it's fine. And then she says, hey, honey. I'm like, who's she talking to? She's calling her husband. Look who it is. I'm like, hey, oh my gosh, Patrick, but David, you don't even know. I can't even. And he starts shaking and he's nervous. I mean, this is great. This happened both malls today, in 2 malls. This happened. Happens all the time nowadays because obviously Value is a bigger market. And by the way, I want you to realize this. I am grateful for everybody right now. You're next to your family watching this. I can't say how many wives send me messages saying every night I have to listen to your voice, and I'm trying to tell my husband to go to sleep, and he puts it in his earpiece, and I still hear your voice, and I feel like I know you, and and I watched a video, 15 things you should know before you date an entrepreneur, and who to marry and how to marry. I was offended. All this stuff that I get, right? Okay. I'm grateful for all of you. You energize me. And I love the fact that there's an audience out there that wants to learn more about entrepreneurship and how to advance your life. That energizes me more than anything else. I am so grateful for you guys. Words can't even describe the level of gratitude I have for you. And I'm always grateful when this happens, and no matter where I'm at. So he and I start talking. I said, what do you do? He says, I run an insurance company, local here. His last name is, what's the guy's last name from Iron Man? Stark. So his last name is Stark, but his first name is something else. I took a picture of his first name to my phone. Anyways, he messaged, his wife already sent me a message on Instagram. So, and I said, yes, what's happening? He says, I run an insurance company and I hired this person and da. And I said, what are you doing? How much volume are you doing? I don't know how to get the salesperson to stick around. And I paid this guy and all of a sudden you told me to hire husband and wives, but it didn't work for me because of this. I said, let me tell you what you need. You need to attend the vault. And let me explain to you why. He says, why? He says, I hired somebody from the E-Myth place. I hired someone, by the way, sharp guy. Okay? Sharp guy. Said all the right things. He hired a sales guy. He paid him $50,000. The guy walked away. Everything. Sharp guy. A guy that's really trying to make it work. And his wife, pure class, 3 kids next to him, climbing all over her. And I was at the mall in Stonebrow early, and I was experiencing the same thing with our kids. So I went to the second mall all by myself. I said, you need the vault. He says, oh, man, what do you mean? He had no idea the vault conference was going on. I said, it's a 3-day conference in Dallas. He says, you're serious? I said, yeah. So I sent him the link and everything. I moved on. Boom, got a message. He and his wife both registered ASAP. They got registered to go to the conference. Immediately registered to go to the conference, right? Somebody says, by the way, I'm not going by myself. I'm going with my wife as well. Okay. What's the point? Here's the point. I decided that if we ever do a conference to put something together, it wouldn't be for you to come just to motivate you. Don't get me wrong. When you go to the Vault Conference, you are going to be lit up. But it's purely how I can transfer knowledge to you, system to you, protocols to you, strategies to you that you can use today. Listen, a grandmaster, a chess grandmaster, is a grandmaster because they know the next 10 to 15 moves. Let me say this one more time. A chess grandmaster is a grandmaster because they know what their next 10 to 15 moves are. Now, some of you guys that play chess, how many moves do you already know you need to make? How many of them? A grandmaster knows 10 to 15 moves. The average person plays chess, they just know maybe 1 or 2 moves. Some of you guys that know that one strategy, you know which one I'm talking about, where within 5 moves you can do a checkmate. You know 5 moves. But that 5 moves, everyone knows the 5 moves. Like if you do it, everyone knows what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? I know, we all know what you're doing. So if you play against an amateur, you do the 5 moves, no one's going to know. Go on YouTube, watch that video. You'll see very impressive if you play somebody that has no clue what the hell they're doing. But if you play somebody that knows what they're doing, they know that 5 moves is not going to work on them. They're going to go a complete different route, right? I wanted to get to a point where at any given point, I knew my next 10 to 15 moves. And when I watch a lot of people in the world of business, they typically only know 1, 2, 3 moves. That's typically what they know. And it's reactive. Oh, this happened. Let me do this. Oh my God, I can't believe. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do this. Everything is reactive. Which, don't get me wrong, you have to respond to crisis and things that happens. But if you always initiate, you're always taking control. And if a true entrepreneur becomes an entrepreneur or an executive or anything like that, you're about control. And to control, you got to initiate. You got to know what you're going to be doing. And those are strategies that will be covered at the Vault Conference for 3 days, okay? 3 days. I haven't even told you who's going to be at the conference yet. I'll be announcing this week. Hopefully this week. I'll be in Vegas. I'm doing some stuff that I'm working on, a few other projects that I'm working on. But I just want you to realize this. If you're watching this and all you're thinking about is profit, or motivation, listen, there's a lot of value for motivation. Please don't think I'm discounting it. I do it all the time. I do it to you all the time. I do it to my kids all the time. I do it to my family all the time. I do it to people I work with all the time. But we went from having one office out of Northridge, California, to 100 offices in 49 different states with 10,300 agents because we focused on scale and strategy. That's what it was. And the rest is history. And that's what you need if you want to build a global business, if you want to build a national business. Because all the rest of it is you're going to have to do the work for the rest of your life. Always selling. Always. You always have to sell no matter what. But the exciting part about a business is scale. Life of its own. Where it's like, it's just growing. You're like, what is going on? You start seeing stuff. People start doing things better than you. Smarter people show up. People 10 times smarter than you show up. What is going on here? That's exciting. That's the juice of building a business. And then all of a sudden you're sitting around saying, did we really just make this kind of money last month? Yes. That's insane to me. Yes, we made that kind of money. I haven't made that kind of money in 10 years combined. We just made that in a month. Yes. That's scale. That's exciting. That's juicy. That's the stuff where you all of a sudden go to look at your business account or your checking account, you're like, what? You go to the ATM and, or go to your banker, and your banker does a double take. You know what it is? Oh, hey, how are you? Sir, yes, good to do. So, what can I help you with? What's your account? Hey, can you please log in? Yeah, sure. What can I help you with? I'd like to take withdraw some money. Okay, no problem. Mr. David, what can I help you with? Oh, what happened? Just a minute ago, I was Patrick. Now, Mr. David. Just a minute ago, you're Albert. Now you're Presadio. Just a minute ago, you're John. Just a minute ago, you're Matt. Now you're Mr. Sapala. What happened there? What is the adjustment there? What is the shift there? Scale, 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 scale. System, strategies, all day long. Top of my list. Okay, best book on scaling. You know what? I'll tell you the best book on scaling. All right, so check this out. Let me see if I got it here. I hope I do. I think I do. It's typically closest thing to my desk. Where's the best book on scaling? It was just on my desk. I was going through it the other day. Hang on. Let me look for it. All right, let's see. Okay. Let me put it over here. Look, let me show you this. You know, it's crazy. You will never see me, ever, in an office without me having 5 or 10 copies of this. I don't write this book. I don't make a penny off this book. Look how many I got right here. If you haven't read this book, you need to read this yesterday. Blue Ocean Strategy, okay? Very simple. I think some 4 million copies have been sold. At this time when I bought this, it says 2 million copies, so I think total 4 million copies have been sold. If you've never read this you got to read ASAP, okay? Now, if some of you guys are a little bit ahead in your game and you're at more of a technical side of your business, you got to read Growing Pains. It's a technical book. If you're just a salesperson or just coming up, this is probably not the book for you because it's a little technical. I'll tell you some of the titles. Transitions required to build sustainable, successful organization. Building sustainable organizations. The pyramid of organizational development. Identifying and surviving the first 4 stages of organizational growth. Managing an advanced stage of growth. Recognizing growing pains and assessing the need for change. Strategic planning, organizational structure, organizational control, and performance management systems. Lots of boring stuff. But if you're running a business and you got 20 employees or more, this is the book for you. Okay? And then the other book I would tell you. All right, let me do this. Okay, this other book, I was just looking at it. This other book I would tell you. Another boring book that very few people read, but this book can make you tens. This book right here, The Toyota Way. The Toyota Way, older book, The Toyota Way. These guys worked on their manufacturing firm, their plants to get, every time there was an issue with a car, they wanted to solve the problem by seconds, and they got it down to 59 seconds. It used to be 2 minutes. Every time there was a problem, they had this bell system. You got to read it. This book, very hard to finish for those of you that are just driven by profits and short-term motivation. But those of you that are driven by value, you will not be able to put this book down. Sick book. I required every single one of my executives to read this book and write a paper on it. This was one of them. Okay, all right, there you have it. Matter of fact, since I got 70 this year, first person that buys a ticket right now for the vault, you just go buy a ticket right now. I'll sign a note here, and I'll send this to you myself. I'll write a note and I'll send it to you. If you haven't read it yet, I'll send it to you. Go buy, I don't care if it's general, you buy 2 tickets, platinum, whatever one it is. Go to vitamin.com, claim your ticket, and I'll send this book to you. But you got to be the first person that does it. Okay, next question. Let's go to Facebook here. Let's see what we got here on Facebook. What is your opinion on drop shipping? What are you trying to solve for? If you're just trying to solve for that kind of business, do it. A guy sent me a message today. He says, Patrick, thank you so much for saving me from the 4-hour work week. I said, why? It works for a lot of people. He says, you're not a big fan of it. I said, I'm not a fan of it because I enjoy building a business. There's a lot of people today that want to get away from the work. Like they want to get, hey, create fake assistants or create this or create that. It creates so many different emails, even though you're answering it. Create support. at johndoeconsulting.com. So create sales, but it's like create 10 emails, but it's all you. And it makes your company look bigger. Great. But these are people that are trying to avoid work. I'm not trying to avoid work. I love the game. Oh my gosh, I love the game of building a business. And you guys, the last 2 weeks, I was making a list. 21 decisions. 21 big decisions, not small decisions. Greenlight technology, spend the $2 million for this, whatever the number was. Greenlight, do this for this person that we're getting for this big event. Okay, Greenlight, let's do this. We're going to this other conference. How much money are we going to spend for this? Probably around $4 million. Greenlight it. How much money is going to be for this one? Okay, no problem, go do it. 21 major decisions. How much bonus are we going to pay for this if they hit this number? 1, 3, how much? $6 million? Yeah, do it. Greenlight. Just in the last 2 weeks. Decisions, right? But a lot of people are trying to avoid the work. It's cool today to avoid the work. I'm not trying to avoid the work. And I will tell you, those of you that figure out a way to really build a business in today's times and not avoid the work and focus on value, I mean, that's a big edge for you. The dollars are going to show up for somebody like that in today's times in a big way. All right, let's do a couple questions here. What do you think it takes to, what do you think it is also takes the right people to scale, or should the right systems take care of that? No, Erica Hill, you need the right people as well. You absolutely need the right people. First of all, the challenge most of the time with finding the right people is you are not the right person. Meaning you haven't yet developed yourself. You want everybody else to improve, but you haven't yet improved yourself. Everything is pointing fingers at other people, right? Oh, this person, that person, this person. And by the way, Erica, I'm not talking about you, because I can tell you for myself, a lot of times it was me that had to improve. I was the stubborn one. I was the big ego one. I was the one that knew it all. I was the one that wasn't willing to learn. I was the one that had blind spots. It's always this way, right? If I go here, then I can fix the rest of it out there. But once I got to a point where my philosophies were crystal clear on what I wanted to do, then it was about finding the right people. And you find the right running mates. A guy asked me today, ran into me at the Stonebriar Mall. He says, man, just give me one advice. He runs a ATM machine business. He sets up ATM machines at strip clubs, literally strip clubs, at markets, liquor stores. And that's his focus at car washes. And he makes a small percentage of all the $2.50 fee or $3 fee. He makes his money on that, right? So he says, Pat, what do you suggest, man, for me? I said, running mate. Be a great running mate to find a good running mate. One great running mate could completely change the face of your business. I'll do that. Everybody, I hope you have a killer week this week. I want to hear your thoughts about the Tuesday how-to. This Thursday is the NBA referee, Tim Donahue, that will be going live. It's going to be a very interesting interview. And then for the rest of you guys that register for the vault, we got so many different pings of people buying tickets for the vault. I can't wait to see you in Dallas so we can spend 3 days of one-on-one, us, the group together for 3 days together in Dallas. I cannot wait to see you. Take care, everybody. Love you. Bye-bye. Have a good night.